So, very good evening, friends. Meeting again in the session of philosophy, and we are discussing the last concluding part of the chapter, the unity of medicine. In last 5 lectures, we have discussed about what exactly and Stuart Close wants to say about the unity of medicine. He explained that when we considered with the homeopathy, we used to consider the holistic aspect of human being, and which is not there with the allopathy. They used to divide the individual into different parts, and there are different more than 57 branches of medicines where the human is divided into different parts. बंद करूं मैं. So, because of which it is most important thing is that there is no correlation between one branch to the another branch. People are treated only with local problem with local treatment, and it is only a palliative. It is not curative. Only homeopathy, which deals with the individual as a whole and which deals with the patient with scientific aspect. There are 7 cardinal principles with which we approach toward the patient. Yes, there are definitely some limitations, and that's why it is necessary to work together. If the allopaths understand the concepts of homeopathy, and if we homeopaths understand the concept of material science, two are different branches, different entities. One deals with dynamics, another deals with the material. The laws applicable to the material science are not applicable to the dynamics, or laws applicable to dynamics are not applicable to the material. And if you understand things better, then you understand each pathy in a proper manner. And that's what he is explaining in this concluding part, the medical cure list, where he wants to correlate the allopathy with the homeopathy, and he wants to tell that everyone should respect another fellow so that we can work together for the betterment of the suffering humanity. And this aspect we were discussing, we were on concluding part, we were on page number 57. Uh, the paragraph, second last paragraph, all true sciences are interrelated. They touch one another at many points. Each is dependent upon the others in many respects. They often exchange works as well as words. See how nice thought is there with this clause. He explains that yes, definitely the all sciences, they are correlated. One must respect others, one must understand the others. If you do practice in this manner, we can do a good work for the suffering peoples. Entrance upon the profession of the medicine has until recent years been so easy and unrestricted that a large portion of its matriculants had not even the equivalent of a modern grammar school education, with little or none of the cultural and still less of the scientific training which goes into the makeup of well-educated man. And they have been permitted to take the course of medicine and enter upon its practice. Innate ability, a studious disposition, and hard work have enabled some of these men to make up for their pre-medical shortcoming and earn high honors. But the majority have been medical misfits, without whom the profession and public would have been better off. So what he is saying, there are, if you want to really do a better practice, better homeopathic practice for the people, there are only 3 important qualities one must have. The first is innate ability. What is an innate ability? It should be there inside you. You should be able to do a very hard work. You should be able to understand what animal wants to say. You should be able to understand the concepts of dynamic. You should be able to understand the principles of homeopathy. That ability should be there. If you don't understand them, then there is no use. So first point which he explains, innate ability. Second is studious disposition. You should be studious. You must revise it again and again. You should be very much concentrated on your studies. Thoughts should run in your mind again and again about the studies. Then you can go ahead. And last, the hard work. And there is no excuse for the hard work. Hard work always gives you the success if you are consistent with the hard work. And these are the peoples which are very which will be very helpful for the suffering mankind, and which will be successful in your practice. And rest of the peoples who don't have those qualities, he says that they are the medical misfits, and they will not be, they should not go for the medical as a medical professional, because they are indolent. So long as such men confined their attention strictly to the practice of medicine according to their lights, and much could be forgiven. But when they invaded the literary field and began to write up matters of which they knew little and nothing, or nothing, and even to set themselves up as critics of men who did know, patience ceased to be a virtue. In pillarizing the culprits, the editors of magazines and society transactions who admitted such trash to their pages should not be overlooked. Verily, they have much to answer for. A striking example of the misunderstanding and misuse of the words is found in voluminous and for a long time seemingly endless discussion centered upon the word spiritual used by Hahnemann in paragraph 9 of the Organon, which reads as follows: in healthy condition of man, the spiritual vital force, the dynamics that animates the material body, rules with unbounded sway and retains all parts of the organism in an admirable, harmonious, vital operation as regards both sensations and functions, so that our indwelling reason gifted mind can freely employ this living healthy instrument for higher purposes of our existence. So this word has made lot of controversy. Actually, Hahnemann have very clearly defined what he wants to say. He has not looked towards only dynamic aspects of the homeopathy, but at the same time the material aspect of the human body. In the same next few words explains. But people have read spiritual and finished. They started criticizing Hahnemann, that Hahnemann is idealistic. There is no question of idealism is there in Hahnemann's thought. In fact, he was the first one who used to consider human being with both the aspects, the dynamics as well as material. But people never read, people never understand, people never study, and there is a habit of criticizing. And this is wrong. This definition itself explains that Hahnemann was very clear with his thoughts that in the healthy condition of man, the spiritual vital force, the dynamics that animates the material body. He says that material body is getting animated because of dynamic force. So he is considering the twofold existence of human being, the material as well as dynamic. He was very clear, but people never understands those, and they just look towards one word and starts criticizing. And this should not happen, because of this the human being suffers. There are many medicines for many disorders in homeopathy, but there is no chance to get it utilized. Many people never dare to utilize. Actually, they are having a lot of value. Why? Because homeopathy is not having a first rank in the society. And why it is not having? Because of the, we are not talking to each other, we are not making a good communication with other pathies, and we don't have a verbal transformation of the thoughts from one pathy to another pathy, and because of which it is failing. And this is what he wants to maintain. And this is what he says further. Failing to see that Hahnemann had permissibly used the word spiritual as the antithesis of the words material or the tangible, the would-be critic swooped down upon it like a hawk upon chicken, fastened their talons on in it, and proceeded to make the feathers fly. Unfamiliar also with the word dynamis and the ignorant of its derivation and meaning, they turned their imagination loose and assumed that Hahnemann was referring to some mystical, spiritualistic sort of thing, which is which to their half-educated and crudely materialistic minds had no existence. Much ridicule and cheap wit, as well as invective, were wasted upon Hahnemann and homeopathy. So there were a lot of criticism against these two words. First word was spiritual and another word was dynamis. But that's all. They have started criticizing without reading the whole definition of vital force. And this is the wrong. And Stuart Close says this is actually ridiculous. Without knowing the things, to criticize the others is absolutely ridiculous. And this happens because of the two things. One is egotism, and second thing is idiocy. If you don't understand what the other person wants to say, you are not understanding anything. He was very clear with his thoughts, and that's what he is explaining over there. Such a thing, if it never happens, it will be better for the suffering people. Had they taken pains to refer to any good dictionary, they might have learned that dynamis is a Greek noun meaning power or force, the power or principle objectively considered, applied by animal to the life principle. So Stuart Close is explaining that what is the exact meaning of it and what Hahnemann have thought, but people have not understood it and they have made comments on it, or they have made uh, critics on it, and this should not happen. Actually, one should help another science so that it will be useful for everyone. To conclude the chapter, what he says over there, by the use of that word and its adjectives, dynamic and dynamical, of or pertaining to forces not in equilibrium, pertaining to motion as the result of force, opposite to static, Hahnemann introduces us into the realm of dynamics, the science. Hahnemann introduces us to the realm of dynamics, the science which treats of motion of bodies and action of forces in producing or changing their motion. In medicine, dynamical commonly refers to the functional as opposed to the organic disease. Hahnemann thus opened the way for bringing homeopathy under mathematical laws, creating the science of homeopathics and giving it its rightful place in the circle of sciences. So exactly what Hahnemann wants to say, he has mentioned over there very, very, very clearly. And that the words dynamics, the word spiritual has a lot of meaning. So these are things one must know, one must understand. And these are not getting understood by the people, and because of which there was a criticism against the homeopathy. Actually, he expected that it should not happen and people should come together in order to treat the people so that it will be helpful for better mankind. So here concludes the chapter, very important chapter, the unity of medicine, and very important thought that we should unite together to communicate, to transform the thoughts so that it will be helpful for the suffering people. So on this note, we'll finish this chapter and today's lecture, and we'll meet on Monday with the new chapter, that is the next one, life, health and disease. You'll think that what again the same thing. No, the concepts of life, concepts of health, concept of disease, very thoroughly explained by Stuart Close in that chapter. So we'll definitely meet on the Monday with that new chapter. Today we don't have Mater Medica session. So we'll directly meet on Monday for that session. So thank you being there and have a
So
good
one
evening.
question, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
One question, sir.
Yes,
Sir,
please.
yesterday you are telling about Erigon, no? Canandis.
Huh.
You
Erigeron.
have told, Erigon. It is a deep acting remedy, you have told, and also you have given only in six potency. Six potency will do only in the surface, no, as per the
630. I have
ah,
explained about 6 and 30. Two potencies I have explained about the erigeron. Basically, it is not a drug which has been very thoroughly proved. It was not completely proved remedy. That's why we have very few things which are mentioned in Materia Medica. Uh, Boric has given glimpses of it. If you go with the Murphy's book, Lotus Materia Medica, you can get lot of things regarding it. And then you will understand that how psychotic miasm is also there. But this remedy needs more proving or more clinical application. Then we can go ahead 200 or 1 m. But even in 30, it works hard. So we can go ahead with the 1 m or 10 m and we can share our results with the 1 m and 10 m. But for that purpose, we have to use the remedy for not for acute but for the chronic complaints. Then definitely we can see and we can explain to the world, yes, 1 m, 10 m is also useful for the patients. 630, those are common potencies which we used to use. Many people use as mother tincture also.
okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So that's all for today. We'll meet directly on Monday, not for Materia Medica lecture today. No Materia Medical session. Thank you and good evening.